These are 8 things American Idol left out about Hannah Harper, the season 24 winner whose audition clip reached over 120 million views across platforms, and who the show packaged week after week as a raw and unlikely underdog. Some of what got left out is genuinely surprising, and one piece of it is a fabricated claim that is still circulating online right now, which is where we will end. Thing 1. Her name is not Hannah Harper. Every week, the show introduced her as Hannah Harper from Willow Springs, Missouri, but that name is only half her story. Her legal name is Hannah Noel Mendenhall, with Harper kept as a stage name from her maiden name, which is routine practice in country music and earned exactly 0 airtime over an entire season. She married Devin Mendenhall in April 2018 and has carried that name ever since, and not once during the competition did the production mention it. Every viewer who watched her win on May 11, 2026 went home believing they knew exactly who she was. Thing 2. Producers told her not to sing String Cheese. Most people know Hannah Harper because of one song. String Cheese moved Carrie Underwood to tears on national television, charted on Billboard, and accumulated over 120 million views across platforms, making it one of the most watched audition moments the show has produced in recent memory. None of that was guaranteed because before Hannah walked through the audition doors at Belmont University in Nashville, Idol staff sat her down and told her not to sing it. She described what happened in an interview with TV Insider. "They told me to prepare a backup because the judges don't love to hear originals. They want to hear something that they're familiar with, that they've heard before. So I had a backup planned and never had to use it. The backup was a Jake Worthington song, and her own take on that option was that nobody knew it anyway." She disregarded the advice, performed the original, and the audition became the most watched moment of the season. The clip that built her career came within one staff conversation of never existing. Thing 3. She had about 100 followers when Idol came looking. What the show presented was a stay-at-home mom who decided to take a chance and walk through the door. What actually happened was different. On Mother's Day 2025, Hannah released String Cheese independently, a song she had recorded in an old sawmill, and Idol recruiters came across it and reached out to her directly. When the message arrived, she assumed it was a scam, which is a reasonable conclusion for someone with around 100 followers to reach when the American Idol team shows up in their inbox. She told the Howell County News, "American Idol recruiters seek people out with little to no following. I had about 100 followers." Raising 3 sons in rural Missouri with a social media presence smaller than most local businesses, she was not someone who walked boldly toward her moment. A recruiter knocked on a nearly invisible door, and that is the actual origin story. Thing 4. She was a professional musician for 7 years before anyone outside Missouri knew her name. The narrative the show built was the stay-at-home mom who discovers her voice, and it is good television, but it erases roughly 7 years of her actual career. From 2009 through approximately 2016, Hannah performed in her family's traveling bluegrass-gospel band, living and touring full-time on a 40-foot bus and recording 2 albums along the way. In 2010, the family won the SPVGMA International Band Championship, a national title, which is not something that happens to people who are just finding their footing. She began performing publicly at around age 9, meaning that by the time she walked into that Nashville audition room, she had spent the better part of a decade playing under competitive conditions in front of real audiences. She stepped away to raise her family, and then the show found her and called it a discovery. Thing 5. She was subjected to vicious online hate, and the show did not address it. A frozen performance of Heads Carolina, Tails California was all the internet needed to turn on her, and what followed was ugly. A viral comment that spread widely read in full, "Please don't vote for Hannah Harper and Chloe Lauren if they make the live shows. We don't want some trailer park stay-at-home mothers who sponge off their husbands' salaries who are only on for their 15 minutes of fame." Hannah's public response landed with more composure than the comment deserved. "I don't ever respond to hate comments, but this one made me cackle." She clarified that her trailer sits in the middle of a hayfield, not a trailer park. What the show did with all of it was build a redemption arc around her Disney night performance, add choreography, and move on to the next episode, which meant the classist pile-on she absorbed in real time stayed completely off-screen. Thing 6. A viral rumor said she quit to sign with Dolly Parton. While she was still competing, Still competing in the top 20, Hannah became the subject of a story circulating online that claimed she had secretly left American Idol to sign a record deal with Dolly Parton's label, Butterfly Records. The rumor spread far enough that she had to address it publicly, which she did with this statement. This American Idol Top 20 did not sign a contract and leave the competition. The amount of AI and false information floating around right now is honestly mind-blowing. She was still in the competition. The story was entirely fabricated, and it would not be the last piece of invented information to attach itself to her name. Thing 7. The win was forecast. Carrie Underwood was openly backing her, and nobody said anything. Calling it a surprise underdog story made for good television. But by the time the finale aired, very few people who had followed the season closely were actually surprised. Gold Derby had predicted the outcome. Hannah's audition clip had consistently outperformed every other contestant on YouTube throughout the season, and by finale night her Instagram following had climbed to over 400,000, more than any other competitor, up from around 100 when Idol first came looking. And then there was Carrie Underwood. As a sitting judge on the competition, not a neutral observer, she appeared on Good Morning America in March 2026 and said, "I told Hannah Harper that she reminded me of me. You're living your normal life and now you're on stage." A judge publicly comparing one specific contestant to herself aired on national television and nobody called it unusual. The result was that Hannah Harper winning season 24 looked like a Cinderella story on screen and a fairly predictable outcome everywhere else. Thing 8. The biggest lie on the internet. About Hannah Harper, and it is still spreading after the win, a claim spread widely online that string cheese had reached #1 on the Billboard Hot 100. The chances are reasonable that you have seen it, and if you shared it, you passed along something fabricated. What the Deseret News reported on May 10, 2026, was that the song peaked at number 14 on Billboard's Country Digital Song Sales chart, which is a real achievement for someone who had 100 followers before a recruiter showed up in her inbox. Number 14 on a country sales chart and number 1 on the Hot 100 are not close to the same thing. The viral claim appears only on content farm blogs and AI-generated articles. Billboard never reported it, Hannah's team never stated it, and it did not happen. That this fabrication circulated more widely than most of the real facts fits the shape of her story from the very beginning. What the actual story of Hannah Harper amounts to is this: 7 years of professional performance before the show cast her as a raw discovery, a recruiting process the show framed as a bold walk-in audition, producer advice to avoid the exact song that made her famous, online cruelty absorbed with no camera coverage, a fabricated rumor she had to publicly deny while still competing, and after the win, a piece of invented information that spread further than most of the verified ones. American Idol presented one version of her. The real version does not need embellishment to hold your attention. She wrote a song about the hardest years of her life, recorded it in an old sawmill, and released it on Mother's Day 2025 to an audience of 100 people. On June 2, 2026, she stood on the Grand Ole Opry stage and said, "I feel like there's power coming through my boots." That part is accurate. All of it is.